So, okay, Ron, so behind us we have a mist net. You were talking about this is one of the techniques that we use to capture birds. So can you tell us a little bit about what it's used for and what it is?
Well, for many of the things that we do, we want to catch a bird so that we can get it in hand and measure it. And this net is really just a very fine mesh, and there's some guy wires here strung so that it's baggy behind. And what happens is that it's very difficult to see, and a bird flying along will just pop in there and then hang down in the net here and get a bit tangled. And with a little bit of practice, you can learn to extract it, and then we can have the bird in hand, we can put a band on it, we can take a small blood sample, we can take a little bit of feather, and all of those things tell us a lot about the bird, where it came from, and how well it's been feeding recently. So
this simple technology will give you a lot of information quite easily.
That's right, and a lot of our time is spent standing out there on the mud flat with a number of these panels spread out, usually not so windy as it is today, trying to catch birds.
Great, so what do you do with the information that you get once you've collected that data?
Well, these data go into our data banks, which are now fairly extensive. We've been collecting data here since the late 19s. That's an unbroken chain of effort by the Canadian Wildlife Service. And we can use it especially to ask questions about hypotheses. So, for example, it appears that numbers of western sandpipers are plummeting at the moment. The decline over the past decade, measured here, is more than 80%. There's a couple of different possible reasons for that. These are competing hypotheses, and we try to challenge those hypotheses with data to figure out which of them is the best explanation for what we're actually seeing.
Great.
So that's how those data are used.
That's great. So is there anything else that you can, any other some interesting things that you've found besides just the population decline?
Well, one of the most interesting recent discoveries is that the recovery of peregrine falcons. This was a bird that was endangered after DDT. You and your teachers have perhaps talked about this, but their numbers have climbed steadily over the past 30 years. And western sandpipers, and probably a lot of other migrants, changed a lot of the things that they're doing, we think, in response to the presence of these peregrines. And if you were here with us yesterday, you saw these fantastic flights out here of the birds swirling and dodging, trying to get away from peregrines. And we think many of the other things they do on migration are related to evading peregrines.
Great. So there's so much to learn out here just coming out. There's so much to learn.